I'm Peter Mandler. I'm professor of modern cultural history at the University of Cambridge. Welcome to my exp. So, one of the problems that I have in talking about education is that education, I think, generates a lot of myths. And I want to do the job of an historian in busting those myths without depreciating the value of education, which I think is really important. It just may not be important for the reasons people think it is. One of those myths is the myth that that you need education in order to function in the workforce of the future. But another of those myths is that you need education in order to make for a more equal society, or to use the variant which is popular in Britain, in this country, you need education for social mobility. That is, to give everyone a chance of improving themselves and moving upward in the social scale. Whereas I think the fact is that education, apart from some of the very basic levels, which I'll talk about in a second, education isn't really very good at making for social mobility, for the same reasons that it's not really good for training people for specific jobs, partly because inequality is generated across the whole of the life course. It doesn't only happen during the years you happen to be in school between, say, 5 and 18 or 21. And of course, inequality is also generated the rest of your life as you move out into the workplace and into middle and old age. In the 1960s in Britain, there was a growing demand for these white-collar jobs, especially in retail and clerical occupations, which were growing quite rapidly in the 60s. But even in manufacturing occupations, employers had fewer shop floor jobs and more managerial, bureaucratic jobs just to run a factory. The education system wasn't changing as rapidly as the labor market was, and so employers just hired people with lower educational qualifications for these higher grade jobs because they had to find them from somewhere, and they just hired the best candidates they could, regardless of education. Once that process started, people thought, oh, well, if I want my kids to get these better jobs, these clean jobs as they were known, in offices and shops, much better than factory floor jobs, and better paid, higher status, more pleasant. If I want my kids to have those jobs, maybe if I give them some better education, then the employers will see that these are the best candidates for those jobs, and they did. And so education grows and roughly keeps pace with the changes in the labor market. But it's not that the employers needed those better educated workers, because they didn't have those better educated workers. They just needed the best workers they could get. And they got them however much education they'd have. There's a widely held view that belief in meritocracy. And obviously meritocracy is better than the ideal against which it was initially defined, which is sort of hereditary talent and hereditary rule. And meritocracy, although the word wasn't invented until the end of the 1950s, but the idea of meritocracy, that everyone should have a chance to excel based on their native intelligence and their hard work, and that everyone should have an equal opportunity to rise. That idea originated in the early 20th century, and it was undoubtedly preferable to what came before it. I mean, it was much better to give everyone the tools, the educational tools, to equip them for a better future than just to give it to a hereditary group of people who already had those tools. But I think over the course of the 20th century, we've come to learn that that education doesn't solve all the problems of society, it doesn't create equality, that already advantaged people do better than disadvantaged people in education as well as outside of education. And so meritocracy seems more and more to see like an illusion. That is, it's simply a justification for people who already have privilege, a new justification, and one that seems more more justified than hereditary privilege. It's just a justification for already privileged people to defend their privilege and sometimes to enhance it. I think if there's an antidote to the myth of meritocracy, it's not less education, it's more and better education, a wider array of educational opportunities to suit a wider array of dispositions so that more people can succeed, and that not all the decisions about hierarchy and status are made on the basis of a narrow set of educational criteria. This is one reason why I think it's a mistake, quite apart from the fact that it doesn't really help your economy, to privilege certain subjects like science subjects over others, because some people are better at science subjects than others, and those differences tend to follow some existing inequalities in our society, gender ones and class ones. And since there's no economic reason to favor those science skills, why would you want to send the message to those kids who are not so good at science or better at other things like creative arts? Why would you want to send them the message that their skills and talents are not equally useful and for society and worthy of encouragement?